The Shepards program. I was placed in this orphanage a week ago since hiding and escaping my abusive, alcoholic dad. They didn't call it an orphanage. At St. Jude's Home for the Wayward, they called it the placement. Every few months, a man with a smile like a closed wound and eyes the color of winter wheat would visit. He smelled of pine needles and raw iron. He didn't want the toddlers. He wanted the ones like me, the ones with scars, the ones who had survived the streets, the ones who knew how to run without making a sound. He called us his yearlings. We were taken to a sprawling estate, deep near Cedar Ridge, in the timberlands called the Kennel. There were 12 of us, all teenagers, living in a bunkhouse that smelled of old musk and dried blood. We weren't there for piano lessons or a fresh start. We were there for the hunt. The parents, a tight-knit group, led by the man from St. Jude's, didn't eat with us. They watched us from the shadows of the porch, their silhouettes elongated and twitching in the moonlight. Our chores were strange. We weren't scrubbing floors. We were being trained as hounds. They would release a runner, usually a drifter they'd picked up from the interstate, and tell us to find him. If we tracked him within the hour, we got a steak dinner. If we failed, we were locked in the cellar with the father while he changed. We were forced to fight each other, not to kill, but to establish a hierarchy in hopes to one day bond with the pack. Strength is the only law. The mother would snarl, her jaw clicking out of place as she spoke. The choice came. On the night of the first frost moon, the masks came off. We watched from the clearing as the parents tore through their human skin like cheap paper. They weren't just monsters. They were hulking muscle of fur and fang. The father, now a 7-foot tower of silver-grey muscle and matted fur, stood over a wounded hiker they'd caught. He didn't kill the man. He looked at me and shoved a jagged, obsidian blade into my hand. "The prey is for the hounds," he rumbled, his voice a vibration in the ground. "Kill him, and you feast with the pack. You become one of us, immortal, powerful, never alone again. Refuse, and you become the scent we follow next." I looked at the other orphans. Some were already salivating, their eyes reflecting the predatory yellow of our captors. They had already joined, but I saw the way the parents looked at us, not as children, but as tools, as disposable bloodstock to refresh a dying lineage. I didn't use the blade on the hiker. When the cloud covered the moon for a heartbeat, I drove the obsidian into the father's massive hairy foot and bolted into the thicket. I knew their rules. I knew their scents. I had been trained by the best hunters in the world to be the perfect prey. Now, I'm running. I can hear the chorus of 11 siblings and 6 parents behind me. It'd be strikingly beautiful, if not a terrifying symphony of howls and whines. They aren't just hunting me for food. They're hunting me because I'm the best student they ever had. I have one advantage they forgot. They taught me how to hide from humans, but I've spent my whole life hiding from monsters. Sound of a branch snapping as heavy breathing can be heard right behind the them.